Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. We're doing that here at Jenzabar Jam 2023, Orlando, Florida. We're on day 3. We have podcasted our behinds off this week. Helen, our handler here, has kept us extremely busy, but she has organized us like to a T. Somebody's coming in. She says, here's who they are. Here's what they do. Here's what we're going to talk about. I appreciate that, Helen. She's sitting right across from me right now. We're not going to put her on the microphone because then she'll take over the entire episode. So I got to keep her on. But she is amazing. And she's got us another amazing guest that we're going to talk to right now. Of course, before I bring him in, the other voice you hear is co-founder of the EdUp Experience, Elvin Freitas. Elvin, what's going on?
What's going on, Joseph Celestial?
Every time we get Elvin on a podcast, we got to
That's my sound. Yeah, I love that.
Do you like that sound?
Yeah, I like that sound. Let's keep it.
All right. Well, we're gonna talk finance. We're gonna talk change management. We're gonna talk about a lot, and we're gonna do that with our amazing guest. He's sitting across from us. He hasn't spoken yet, which I think is hard for him because you can see the energy building.
Right, I'm excited.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He is Stead Hallstead. He is the assistant vice president of finance administration at Bushnell University. Stead, what's going on?
Things are great. I'm loving Jam, learning a lot.
How's the conference been going for you? You're in day 3 right now. What have you learned? How's it been going? And is it meeting your expectations?
Yes, absolutely. I love the connection with colleagues. The sessions have been good. We've learned a lot of things. Had a chance to present on the first day. So it's a new level of connection with other people as they've seen me sitting around and get a chance to check in with them on what we talked about, keep the conversation going. So it's been good. A lot of good learnings.
That's great. Talk about Bushnell University. Where is it? Who do you serve? How do you serve?
Yeah. We are a small private nonprofit university in Eugene, Oregon, which is a beautiful spot, faith-based, Christ-centered institution. And we're about 700 students this year, and just a great spot for students to connect with good, solid community, learn and grow in who they are and educationally as they're going. And love being in Eugene.
Amazing.
Eugene, Oregon is beautiful, yes. I hear. I've not been there, but I hear it is pretty amazing.
Yes.
What's the landscape like?
Flowing rivers, big, beautiful mountains. Only an hour to the west will get you to the beautiful Oregon coast. 2 hours to the east will get you to Bend, Oregon, the big, beautiful outdoor playground. And it's a great jump-off spot for all things outdoor adventures.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So you just have a new role, apparently.
Yeah.
So Assistant VP of Finance and Administration, talk about your transition into this role. What are you taking on? What are you learning? And how is what you're learning at JAM going to help you in your new role?
Yeah, so I started at Bushnell probably about 10 years ago in the director of IT position.
Wow.
And 3 years ago, I moved into the director of facilities position to fill a retirement spot in combo with the IT director position. And then just in the last few weeks, I stepped into a position with our business office to help lead that team and work with them as well. So
how's it been going so far?
Really great. We've got a really solid business office team that's got a good long tenure around the university. So I'm not stepping into a leadership role where they're waiting for someone to give them their next instruction. They know higher ed and what they're up to, and just excited to dig into some new software tools.
So you don't have to walk in and go,
execute order 66.
So they know what they're doing?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, none of that at all, which is fantastic. So, yeah.
We like to have fun here at the EdUp Experience, because if we can't have fun serving students, it's not worth it, right?
So
because students, it's hard to serve students. We put a lot of effort and energy and passion into it. We have to have fun doing it, or else, it's funny because we ran a survey. My co-author and I wrote a book called Commencement: The Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education, and we surveyed hundreds of people in higher ed, and only about 70% said they enjoy their job in higher ed. So my immediate thought was, what about the 30% that don't? And they're interacting with students on a daily basis, or they're, you know what I mean? What is that? The one that takes the consequences of that is the student.
Absolutely.
Talk about student-centeredness at Bushnell. What's your philosophy? How do you execute around students and support services, all those types of things?
Yeah. We try to frame a lot of our big software decisions and just process decisions around what does the student experience look like with this or that thing that we're looking at. And that was persistent throughout our Jenzabar implementation as our conversation there about how to set stuff up and what that would look like. But then even in the little things in the day-to-day, thinking through things, and I love being connected to the help desk in IT still, that we get to see physical students kind of walking through the door and help them out, which is great. So
you were the director of technology and physical operations?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And in that role, you're obviously doing a lot of IT related functions,
Yeah.
right? You know, systems implementation, system migrations, processes, and so on. What's the change management process like for you? I mean, because it's not easy, right?
Absolutely.
We've been talking a lot about change management, and you know, there's this this general feeling when you go through change, like what
Yeah.
is someone's taking something from me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I am incredibly thankful that I think because we've got a smaller staff team around campus, that getting people around the table is maybe a little bit easier for us than it is around some bigger school tables. I've enjoyed that. I think around because of maybe the shared mission at Bushnell, it's been easy to get people around the table, and I consider a lot of people around campus friends that we've worked with for a lot of years. So
trust is there.
yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah,
If the trust isn't there, then it's hard to move people along.
absolutely.
So I think that's one of the benefits of being in a smaller institution is agility, trust. You know who has your best interests at heart. In a larger institution, somebody's changing something, and you're going, who is that person? I don't even know who they are. Why are they changing this for me? Right? You think that's an advantage for agility?
I think so. Yeah. And I'm hoping, I mean, like many institutions, our hope is to grow. So then our challenge is how do you keep that same culture and feel as we grow and expand with new staff people? And how do you onboard people to that maybe haven't seen that at other institutions as new people join our team?
Digital transformation is like the most important topic we could be talking about here. Student expectations, technology is changing in front. Like yesterday, there was, I don't know how many AI tools, and today there's 1,000 more.
Yeah.
You know, people are using different tools. We are, as institutional employees, using different tools. It's transforming around us. How does an institution stay at the front end of transformation in a digital world? Is there an answer? I don't know if there's an answer. And if there is an answer, I want you to give it live here at Jenzabar Jam.
You know, it's a tricky answer because being small, I find that we can be quick to implement. And because of our size, we tend to be more on that scrappy scale of things where if we can't figure out a way to get it done budget wise, which is common for a school our size, that we figure out a way to invent a similar solution just kind of out by the works of our own hands and try to figure out how to get it done. And sometimes that's an advantage. That can quickly turn into a disadvantage depending on what you've invented and how maintainable it is. So it's a double-edged sword, but that's where a lot of our digital transformation has come in, is figuring out how to use the tools that we already have in our technology portfolio, including other building block tools to invent the solution that the students are asking for.
Does everybody at your institution know how to use the technology effectively that you have, or is it a continual learning process?
It is definitely a continual learning process. Yeah, between staff turnover lately, thankfully that seems to be slowing down a little bit as we get a little bit further away from all things pandemic. But between staff turnover and just some people that have maybe been around for a while and just the way things have always been done. Yeah, just reintroduction to tools that we have already and finding, you know, new releases and trying to stay on top of what's coming down the pike, which is that part is new for us. That's exciting.
It's almost hard to keep track of, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in technology, I mean, just the whole cybersecurity and data privacy
Absolutely.
issues. Now you move to finance, you have, you know, student data, you've got financial data, all of it has to be protected. One of the key parts of finance today is institutional sustainability, right? So as an assistant VP of finance and administration, I'm sure that's one of the things you're looking at. You know, how does the balance sheet look? Where's the money coming in?
Yeah.
You know, where's tuition at? What's revenue look like? How do we grow? Can you talk about strategy a little bit, you know, for University of Bushnell? What's the growth path look like? How do you chart, you know, how do you work together for a seat at the table to chart a new path for growth?
Yeah. Some of it is on that revenue side of figuring out where we can grow most cost effectively and sustainably, that a way that's going to fit our institution, that is still true to who we are, but also preferably, you know, brings in those revenue dollars and serves our population. But then we spend a lot of time looking at the expense side too, to figure out there's 1,000 good ideas out there. And I always thought my adult life would be choosing between a really bad thing and a really good thing. And I've found that adult maturity and leadership in an institution like this is really choosing between a good thing and a good thing.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, when you step in, you know, a lot of institutions today, because they are struggling to understand their costs, right? They're struggling to understand, you know, especially if they're running a deficit,
It's fuzzy math.
it's hard to understand. It's hard to understand. At a smaller institution, you could be more flexible, right? But you also are dependent somewhat on those tuition dollars of students to come in. How is enrollment looking for you all? Where do you pull students from? Give me a lay of the
Yeah.
land.
A good chunk of our students are local to Oregon, which is fantastic. We had a pretty solid online degree program for adult learners over the last few years. The pandemic has shifted a lot of that. I think we're hearing things about Zoom fatigue and that population somewhat diminishing. We're hoping that returns, but we're building up our traditional undergrad programs. We've got a solid suite of grad programs that have been big for us. And in the last 3 years, we've gotten into nursing education. And we have right across the street, we have a hospital that Bushnell has a long history with.
Is it a commuter school?
We do. I would say we're probably about 75% residential. So
cool.
a good
Okay.
chunk within that traditional undergrad population.
Yeah.
The rest of the adult learners and the grad students are usually commuting, not from too far away, but some traditional undergrad students are coming from as far away as Hawaii lately and other
That's cool.
mostly Western states. Yeah.
When you step into your role as Assistant VP of Finance and Administration, what's your priority? Is it digitizing the financial operations? Is it, budgets? Is it student focused, billing, AR? I mean, what's your focus?
I think it's a mix of that student focused piece. And then with the first part of what you said about getting lean and efficient with our processes so that they will be better student facing and student serving, to kind of untangle some of the process things that higher ed can create for students that are confusing. I think that's going to make a more efficient business office as we go forward. And I think a more efficient business office is overall far better for the students.
I find that in my conversations with higher ed leaders, one of the offices that might be behind on digital transformation is a business office. It's the student accounts offices. It's the tracking and so on. And so much of it is still either manual or, that there's institutions haven't brought that piece along like they have for teaching and learning, where we're bringing in, AI and all this kind of stuff into teaching and learning. Do you step in and go, okay, you've looked at it now and you step in on day one, you go, okay, here are the areas we can, be more efficient in our processes, where we can bring in technology? Is that the benefit of having you in this role, is that you have that eye to technology?
I think that is going to be a strength. I wouldn't say it's going to be a day one transformation. I probably need day two, day 180. I need to spend some time getting to know the people and the processes, because I'm sure, a lot of our processes around higher ed, there probably is a why for the way it is. So I want to understand some of that why before I go in, changing things up on people that have been doing a good job with things.
Elvin, you only asked one question so far.
You're fired.
I did want to ask one quick question. I like to learn more about the institution. How old is the institution?
We were founded in 1895, so we had a 125th birthday. And,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're a fairly old Oregon institution, given the age of the rest of the West.
I'm sure you have a lot of staff that've been there a long time.
Yes,
so it's
absolutely.
very hard for them to kind of be part of that change that we talked about. What's that like?
It can be. Yeah, it's tricky because I think everyone has that heart of wanting to serve students.
Yeah.
Maybe they figured out a good way maybe a while ago, that was efficient, that helped make their job easier, helped them serve students better.
Spreadsheets and all that stuff.
It worked 15 years ago and served students well. And so let's not reinvent that wheel and keep going. And I think, coming to some people where it's appropriate and reinventing the wheel and stepping alongside of them, not just telling them they need to throw everything that they've developed out, but kind of shepherding them with some new methods, materials, tools.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting part of this.
Yeah.
How's R1, right?
Yes.
And so how's it been going? Is adoption where it needs to be? Because I think you guys switched back in 2020, right?
Yeah.
How's the adoption curve looking, and are people, using it effectively?
I think so. Yeah. And I think it's, we have an implementation team meeting that we started back during our implementation, and we've continued going. We still call it the implementation team. We've said we finished the implementation, but we're always implementing.
100%.
I was going to say that, by the way.
Yeah. It's exciting for us because we came from a discontinued student information system that hadn't received updates or new features for years on end.
What does that mean? A discontinued, as in it was a company and was no longer a company?
The company was still around. They are still around, but they decided to stop making student information system software. And so, it was sad.
Good one.
So we get here and we're excited and we're overwhelmed. And now all of a sudden there's release notes with new features and new ways ways on how to serve students that we didn't have before. So we think, we actually really have to pay attention to these release news, because there's going to be a new feature or nugget in there that's going to propel what we're going to do forward. So that's an exciting thing.
What do you take back from this conference? Like, you go back, what's maybe the top 3 things you go, you know what? Is it, I'm not to put words in your mouth, but obviously relationships are a big part here.
Yeah.
Customer success and being able to interact with the Jenzabar team. But what are your biggest takeaways from this conference?
I saw some of the business office finance software within J1 Web, and I'm excited about that to kind of revolutionize some of our AR processes. We're all in desktop for that piece right now. And as that comes to the web, I think it's been thought through in a modern way. Just like on campus, we're refreshing processes for the modern student. It's fun to see the software kind of follow that same pathway. So that's really exciting. I'm excited to dig more into mobile app.
Excellent.
Yeah. We received that as part of our implementation. And, we, in the middle of the implementation, the mobile app kind of took a back seat, and we didn't pay much attention to it. We just threw stuff onto it to kind of mirror our live site. And I think we want to loop back this summer and be more intentional about what it is. I'm also excited because we've got, with our Bushnell team here, we've got some people that haven't been to Jam this year. So how many did you bring? There's 3 of us this year.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty great. We've got a Res Life student life presence here this year that we haven't had before. It's someone who's attended the conference, but not in her new hat. And then we have our newer registrar in the seat. And so she's here. She's seeing the excitement around Jenzabar.
That's an important person to have
huge
here. Right?
Yeah. So it's been fantastic.
If your registrar understands the system and how you use its nooks and crannies, everything seems to go smoother in a university.
Yeah.
The role of a registrar is deeply undervalued, I think. Like, you can't do anything in higher ed without the registrar. They have to understand everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. All things flow from there. So
and instead, you have to understand everything too, right? That's why you're here.
There is a lot of that. Yeah. And I enjoy that piece and seeing how the various things interconnect. I haven't been to a session that I've thought, this is, totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
If it's products we're using, and even just seeing how other customers are doing things, it's exciting, because I think, there's a little snippet of that I can apply to Bushnell, or just going to stick that in my backpack as a tool for later.
That is that's such a great insight, because when you come to this conference at Jam, and you maybe you don't learn anything original, but you learn how somebody else is using something in an original way.
Yes.
And you go, whoa, you know what? It can be mind blowing to see how somebody is using the same thing that you are, but in a totally different way to get something different.
Absolutely.
And you learn different language, because you just said the modern student. I've never heard someone put those 2 together. So I learned something new today. I like
it was an accident, but I'm going to keep using
I like that a lot. The modern student, right?
Elvin just lost his mind. Stead, we want to give you the last word here as we here at Jam to talk about Bushnell University on an open mic. Tell us what we need to know.
Yeah, it's a great institution. I think we've got a really solid student community. We care about seeing students grow in their education and their faith. And that's a big part of what we do from really every staff position. I always love stories about our groundskeeper, is out pruning a rhododendron with a student, and the student, this is someone that they have a working relationship with. The student turns to the groundskeeper and says, "Hey, I've got some hard stuff going on in my life right now. How does have you experienced this? How does your faith play into that?" And they just have this incredibly deep conversation while pruning a rhododendron. So that really is who we are and what we're all about at every level of the institution. And, that's one of my favorite stories.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. This has been a great conversation. I want to first, I don't know if I should thank him for maybe coming up with the idea of the EdUp experience in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest co-host, he is Elvin Freites, co-founder of the EdUp experience. He doesn't get on the mic. I always say about Elvin, he's not often seen, but always behind the scenes. There he is, making me look good over here. A face made for radio. That's me. And our guest today, your guest today, he is Stead Hallstead.
Yes,
he is the Assistant Vice President of Finance and Administration at Bushnell University. Stead, did you have a good time here on the EdUp Experience podcast?
I loved it. It was great. Informative, good conversation.
Oh, man, you're great.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.